I think we're among colleagues. I think everyone has a decent understanding of what smart city is. But every conference I go to, everyone I talk to, I feel like I hear a different definition of smart city, even globally, right? Everyone's got a different idea. Um, the way we kind of look at smart cities is basically, again, not just limited to cities, but communities, campuses, even as small as buildings in some cases. The idea is to basically, anytime an agency or city is able to get data from sensors, from meters, and be able to get value from that data, we kind of think it's becoming smart, right? And it's an incremental step. There's no smart city that overnight becomes smart. There's really no end goal over here. The idea is to evolve over time and start becoming intelligent, leveraging data, get insights, innovate, and create new processes, and hopefully generate new revenue or reduce costs in the process, right? So these steps we kind of want to go through with cities is, hey, the first step is the IoT piece, right? Connect to sensors, unconnected devices, tap potential that wasn't there, extract that data, bring it into some sort of environment, and then get some sense out of that data, right? And that typically means applying some sort of intelligence on it, modeling in a certain way, and getting some sort of insights and business outcomes that typically you wouldn't have if you hadn't connected that sensor. The other part is obviously connecting the historical data, right? There's real time, which is I connect to meters, sensors, I get real time information. But then what value does that create for me if I can't create some sort of a pattern? So if I have to look at the historical data, match it up together to figure out, all right, these are the patterns that are developing. These are the steps I can take to improve them. But the key part over here is all of that is great if it's sitting in a data lake somewhere, but it's kind of useless unless it's properly visualized, right? Unless I can really visually look at a dashboard or a digital twin or some sort of engine that makes that data digestible and visible for me. So those kind of steps, which I'm sure you guys have heard before, is what we feel cities typically are going through in different silos. And as they do that, they're becoming incrementally smarter. So why do this in the cloud, right? Does everyone know what the cloud is? Okay, all right, good, cool. I just like to check because you never know. It's still fairly new phenomenon, right? We're all techies, so we get it. When you step outside, sometimes people are still like, we have no idea. So the idea, obviously, as everyone knows, is the idea is provide IT services on a pay-as-you-go model from managed perspective, right? The value the cloud we feel brings to cities and counties and communities is you can take a lot of those data center environments that you have to manage, which is not your core competency, migrate those workloads to the cloud, and that helps you initially with cost savings, potentially. You don't have to manage an infrastructure, which is not your day job, data center heating, cooling. That's really not what we got into business for, or mayors got into elected for. And then once you're in the cloud or in that environment, how do you optimize those workloads? And then how do you apply higher level services to get some sort of additional value? How do you innovate faster, right? So a lot of the companies that move to the cloud, and cities as well, they've realized once the workload is in the cloud, they're able to now innovate, create new services, create new features and applications that help them move faster and hopefully generate more revenue. There's modern application practices, serverless, et cetera, that you can now apply that you typically wouldn't be able to do in an on-premise environment. And then there's higher level services like machine learning, analytics that are coming out. Generative AI is something I'm going to talk about a little bit. All of those are a lot easier to apply to your applications when you're in the cloud as opposed to when you're leveraging on-premise. Because just if you look at analytics and AI, the amount of compute that's needed is very high and very costly. So it's a lot easier to run those workloads and test those models in the cloud as opposed to just procuring all those servers and chipsets that you might need. So coming back to the side of cities, right? When you think of smart cities, it's all these different sub-verticals under that, right? Typically, you'll have public safety solutions, you'll have utility solutions, energy management, we'll have mobility, transportation, micro-mobility with all the Lime scooters and Lyft bikes and stuff. The sustainability solutions, air quality monitoring, et cetera. And a lot of the cities we've noticed around the world are already embracing this. They've already started investing in these solutions. The one challenge we've noticed is a lot of these cities have started their smart city or digitization process years ago, right? Some 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And they're all buying point solutions in silos that work great. They do a great job. There's no problem with that. So if I've got a problem of parking, I'll buy a parking application and it works great. If I have a smart lighting solution, I just convert 10,000 street lights from incandescent to LED. I'll go buy a parking solution, a lighting solution, and that gives me an edge node. It works great. All these work great in silos. They all collect data. They all have databases, but they're all living in silos, right? So there's no way for me to easily correlate data across this. One example is if I am trying to convert a one-way street into a two-way street from a Department of Transportation perspective, the traffic management data will let me know what impact that's going to have on traffic, right? I can figure out it's going to be 1x, 2x traffic. But then what impact does doubling that traffic have on the environment? How does the air quality change over there? How does noise pollution change over there? How do I predict that? I have the data set, but it's sitting in a different silo in the right corner, and I have the traffic data set sitting in the left corner. So how do I connect these together so I can get higher level insights of what impact is going to have to convert that traffic? One way we've seen cities approach this is to say, hey, let's go with a large single vendor solution that provides 3-4 use cases, and that'll cover all of it, right? So that works too. They'll usually procure a big platform solution that does parking, lighting, traffic management, and you're good. It's all interconnected as the same vendor. But the challenge then is in my local community, I'm in Houston. If there's a local startup that comes up with a new innovative idea, and I want to take that startup solution in and integrate it with that large vendor, I'm kind of locked in because the vendor has got their own proprietary protocols, their own database, and the startup may or may not know how to work into that. So I've solved my problem, but not completely. So the way we kind of look at this is we have started working with this organization in Europe, and they're expanding globally. It's called Fiware. You see on the right corner, Fiware Context Broker, Fiware. Fiware is basically an open source standards body out of Germany, but they have deployments globally. What they do is they create this framework, and in the middle of the framework is a context broker. The idea is, hey, if you're procuring siloed solutions, that's great. No one's telling you to rip and replace that because no one can afford that, right? How do we use open standards, open APIs, and take those solutions that you have, integrate them into a central broker, which is the Fiware broker, and then contextualize the data and now spit it up northward to any application that wants to consume it, right? So the first step in doing that is we want to take the data producers, which are your sensors, vehicles, traffic light systems, all the devices producing data, and then your data consumers, which are essentially your applications, digital twin systems, your mobile applications. And today they have a one-to-one relationship. My camera system only talks to its camera solution. My traffic system only talks to its traffic solution. So we want to decouple those and then have the broker sort of be the one in the middle that takes the camera data and points it to a traffic management system, or take the air quality sensor and sends it to a noise pollution system, right? So I want to decouple my data producers from my data consumers and have all of that come into the broker. So Fiware has been doing this for a while, and they've got deployments globally. They've got deployments in Paris and Middle East and stuff. And you can deploy Fiware anywhere. What we did is we took the context broker with Fiware, and we have a platinum partnership with them. We've taken that and we've put that in the AWS instance. So now with 3 simple clicks, you can go ahead and we call that the smart territory framework. And just to be clear, this is not a product. This is not a finished good. This is not something we sell. STF is actually completely free. The code is available on GitHub. Anyone can go and start building against this. The idea is this is a framework that lets you quickly deploy the context broker in AWS with 3 lines of click. So within 30 minutes, you're up and running. Now you can start pointing all your city data to this context broker. It contextualizes it, and you can take it to whichever application you want. And there's no charge for that. Absolutely, right? And partners that we work with can take this framework and build on top of it and come up with their own products that are very focused with open standards. So the value over here is, one, it's free. It can be spun up and used by anyone, cities and partners as well. But the idea is we're trying to remove the vendor lock-in, right? We're trying to give cities the ability to say, I have 5 vendors. If I want to bring a 6th one, as long as they comply with Fiware, connect to my engine, I have the flexibility to pick and choose who I want, and I get higher level insights beyond these individual silos. So we're giving the power to the cities, and the partners have value as well, solution vendors, in building around this, because now they can start saying, hey, we're open standards based, we're not proprietary, and we're leveraging open codes to basically work with cities, right? So that's that. I want to start with that because that's kind of like the engine for all your data. And then, so one example I want to give before I move on is So in Cartagena, Spain, we had STF core, the smart territory framework deployed. There's a partner of ours, Lebilium. They do parking sensors and they do air quality sensors. The city deployed these sensors in a small corridor to get air quality data and parking data. And all of that was coming into the STF core, right? Connected, working great. They had their own dashboarding, but the city was like, we need something better. So they came to us and said, hey, help us find a digital twin that can look at all this data, right? So we worked with a digital twin company, and the digital twin company basically just tapped into the STF core. They never spoke to the manufacturer of the sensor itself. So they didn't care to figure out how are they sending the data, what format is it, what proprietary is it. They didn't care. They said, we'll just tap into the core. They extracted the data, they built a digital twin, and we have a live demo. I can send links out. And Cartagena is now signing a contract with them. But the value over there was the disconnect between the data producer and the data consumer, right? They never had to talk to each other. They never had to exchange information. They could just tap into the same core and build whatever they want right off of it. So that became powerful for the city because now they're taking this and building additional use cases on top of this. So that was all the engine side, right? The middleware, the application coming in, you're digesting all the information. Now there's this whole new buzzword coming out while we're still dealing with the smart city buzzword. There's a whole new buzzword coming out of generative AI. Is everyone familiar with Gen AI roughly? Yeah, all right, perfect. We've all used ChatGPT. We're all impressed by it. We've all gotten wrong answers from it too. But yeah, the idea of generative AI is basically it should have the capability to generate content itself, right? Whether it's video images, whether it's text, music, etc. And there's some really cool stuff that's coming out. Some of it is a little scary, but it's pretty great to see that. And the way that works is, you may know, is it's based off of large models, right? These are very, very large data sets that are pre-trained, and they're called foundation models. So these foundation models exist, and ChatGPT, I think, uses OpenAI. There's a couple others. And the idea is now application developers can tap into the foundation model, and they don't have to do all the training and modeling themselves. You can just leverage the foundation model and build your chatbot or your engine on top of it, right? So generative AI is really cool, definitely transformative. Some of the use cases we're seeing, and this is not just city related, just in general, is, when you look at enhancing customer experiences, so chatbots are getting smarter as soon as they can tap into these foundation models. Now they can give you more than basic answers, right? They won't just give you a link to a manual. They'll actually give you context from that manual to say, this is how you solve the problem or what you're looking for. Context and analysis is going to a different level where now you can do sentiment analysis based on a call to say, hey, the person calling in is aggravated, they're upset, and they're looking for this. Let's automatically assign or escalate this and bring in the right person, right? And generate content that addresses their needs. So, and customer experience is being enhanced. And this works for cities as well, because cities have call centers, they have digital kiosks. So how do you use Gen AI to interact with your citizens and provide more value? There's employee productivity, there's improving business outcomes. So a lot of different areas we're seeing generative AI get used. At Amazon Web Services, AWS, what we've done is we've kind of created, we have 2-3 different options. So at Amazon, we like to give our customers a lot of options. One is we have our own foundation model called Amazon Titan, I think. Yeah, Amazon Titan, which is a very large data set that any builder can tap into and leverage that foundation model. But then we realized that there's a lot of different models and application vendors like Choice. So we've partnered with a lot of other models such as Anthropic AI and AI21. There's a couple others. And we've come up with a managed service called Amazon Bedrock, which is if you're a builder, you can use that managed service and hook into any of the third-party models or Amazon's model, whichever you choose, or multiple. And now that API will let you basically pull data from all of those and build something, right? So giving customers the option to leverage different models to build whatever they want. So with our IoT services on the left, we give our customers the ability to connect to sensors, connect to devices, extract all of that. With our store and query services in the middle, we're giving you services to basically store that data in different data set choices, in storage buckets. We have a twin maker service that lets you build digital twins yourself. So if you're creating a digital twin, you can leverage that service. So a lot of different options in storing and querying this and analyzing it. And on the third side, if we're looking at acting on that data, we have a whole suite of products around SageMaker, which is our AI service. Bedrock is what I talked about for generative AI. So a lot of different options over there. And then QuickSight is something I want to talk about real quick, which is basically a very quick way to create dashboards. So again, smart city environments, you want to visualize this data and get insights above that, right? So nice little line. Your different data is your differentiator. So with QuickSight, and hopefully this is going to start working soon, QuickSight lets you create your own dashboards. I thought it would be working. Let me see. Oops. It's supposed to load itself, but in any case, QuickSight lets you develop your own dashboard. So what you would have seen over here, I don't know why it's not loading, is that once you have data all coming into a dashboard, you can come up with pie charts and graphs and ways to look at it, right? Which is one way to analyze data. Something we've created with QuickSight is called Q. So it's a little bot over there, and it's got generative AI built into it. So you can ask it a question saying, based on all the data I have, and this is more for executives, right? Give me a brief summary of energy consumption in building X between the hours of X and Y, right? It'll go ahead and pull all that data. It'll generate a report for you. And that's what this would have shown. I don't know why it's not working. But basically, it goes ahead automatically and is generating content based on your own data. And it's generating an entire one-page report with graphs and everything. And it's expert analysis on this is what you're seeing. These are where the gaps are. This is how we think you could potentially fix it. So it's a great way to take all that data, not just visualize it, but now generate automated reports and submit that to leadership and say, hey, this is the outcome of all that connecting with to sensors and everything. This is the business outcome, right? It's an automatically generated report. So we're trying to bridge that gap of just connecting sensors and getting all the way to business outcomes. I really wish this worked, but I can send you guys a link. So we don't do this alone. And I like to go to Home Depot a lot and buy stuff and build stuff. But one of the things I always run into is when I go and buy a bunch of tools and widgets and I come back and I tell my wife, I got this awesome Ryobi drill and it's got this power and blah, blah, blah. She goes, great, but is the picture on the wall hung? That's all she cares about, right? Similarly, our customers, they don't care about the drill. They care about the business outcome, right? What have you done for me? Does it solve my problem? And that's where our partners come into play, right? So we have over tens of thousands of partners. And when I say partners, it's solution vendors that are building solutions on AWS. We have over tens of thousands of partners. And in the smart city space specifically, we have something called a competency. So competency is basically out of all the partners, you have demonstrated excellence in smart cities. And there's validation checks we do, technical validation, business validation. So once you've done that, then we basically give you a competency. This is a subset. There's a lot more partners in the list. But here's some examples, right? So for example, Rubicon on the bottom, they're a waste management company. They have this cool solution where they basically outfit the waste management truck with sensors. And while the truck is driving around, it's looking at bin levels to say, hey, this is overflowing or this is under capacity. And based on that, they'll do their route planning efficiently, right? To conserve fleet management and stuff. The other thing they do is since the truck is driving around the city daily, it's got sensors where it's looking at road conditions, right? If it goes through a pothole, it's looking at an open fire hydrant. It's looking at curbsides where maybe lift bikes were just thrown outside on the corner, right? And it's reducing handicap access. So it's collecting external data, putting that all in the smart city dashboard. And now Rubicon is telling the city, hey, look, our trucks are driving around collecting trash, but they're also collecting all this valuable data. So we're basically a data center on wheels. And here's a representation of what your city needs right now. And from there, the city can create tickets to say, let's go open that pothole. We just got alerted there's an open pothole over there, right? So it's multiple use cases coming out of one solution. Another example is Maya Vision, which is a traffic management company. So they actually worked with the city of Detroit. And Detroit, I believe, had a staff of 50 people managing 800 intersections. And anytime an intersection will go down, it would take them 8 hours just to send a truck out there, figure out the issue is, fix it, and then and you can imagine the traffic impact on that. So by leveraging the IoT solutions at the edge and connecting all the sensors using computer vision, they were able to reduce that from 8 hours down to 2 hours, right? And that 50 team can extensively manage it just by digitizing the environment. So these are just some examples, but like I mentioned, partners are a big go-to-market for us in smart cities. So again, if you guys are running into scenarios, let us know. We have a ton of partners we can bring in and apply the AWS technologies to help solve those. So with that, I just want to wrap it up and see if there's any questions. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a concept or a set of concepts in AI about explainable AI versus transparent. So I used to work at the city of Austin. One of the things we were concerned about when we brought in new technology is how reliable it is. So you have this quick view thing, right? And it says, okay, you have these problems, or this is your data. But what often happens in the city government is that it's not that they don't trust the integrity of the people selling it or building it, but they have to explain it to the public, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of lack of trust in the public, right? So you have this quick view thing. I was wondering if you had a sort of a log function of sorts, or once you get the results, is there a little box you can click on that says, explain how you got this data kind of function? Do you have those features in the product? And again, the reason I'm asking is my experience advising executives in the city is that is the kind of where they go.
Yeah.
When they have to explain this new thing to the public or the decisions to the public, and they say they have this cool widget from Amazon, that doesn't fly.
Yeah.
If they can explain it in more, or have the capacity, or have the option of explaining it in other ways, then it flies, and then they buy your product.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, you're right. So within QuickSight is a dashboard creating tool, right? It's not a finished product, right? So you can generate your own tools off of that. So the source of that data is typically going to be your own data. You're not pulling from external places. If you want, you could, right? So the sources of all the data is going to be typically, and a lot of that is when you're building the tool, it's all sort of written and documented to say where you're getting that data from. You're getting traffic data, you're getting it from this database, right? So the source is there. As far as the QuickSight queue goes, where the report is generated, I'll have to check. I think I think at the bottom, maybe it has an appendix of where the source of the data was, but it's all coming from your own environment. It's doing is taking the data and the report and creating some sort of generic context of what that data means, right? So yeah, you can definitely validate the source. Was that the question? Yeah. Yeah, okay, all right. It's all right. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to chat and figure out, the details of that. Yeah.
Your clients factoring bring your own key as opposed to you providing encryption?
Sorry?
Bring your own key being factored by your clients as opposed to your own encryption services?
Both options are available. Yeah. So we have provide our own, but then I think you can bring your own. Are you talking about like key management servers? Yeah, so you have both options. You can bring your own key management server, or you can leverage some of the KMS services that AWS provides. So one of the things that AWS is, we want to provide the broadest and deepest set of services, and we want to provide builders a lot of options. So in most cases, you can bring your own stuff. Again, I'm not the technical expert, so we could do a follow-up, but we provide a lot, but then we also don't want to limit you to that. You can run a lot of different external workloads on AWS, bring your own service and run them as well.
My question is about the generative AI, especially creating new concepts, ideas. This is a new frontier for me, so if you explained it, I missed it. Are you allowed to talk about the algorithm you're using?
So first of all, it's a new concept for all of us, even us, myself included. I actually don't know the exact algorithms and stuff, right? Yeah, the service teams and experts have visibility into that. I don't. So no, I actually don't know. I would tell you if I did, but I actually don't. Yeah, I don't really think that. But you're right. It's continuously evolving, and when we get into the specific discussions around actual opportunities, we do connect you with our service teams, and the service team then go down to that level of saying, this is how the foundation models are running. These are sort of the expert algorithms they're using and stuff, right? At the high level, I'm not familiar. Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
You talked about a lot of solutions that, I'll say, respond at the speed of a human, right? What about use cases where the system needs to respond at the speed of a machine, right? So the sensors get data, they have to respond back. You're talking about responses in milliseconds or sub-second responses, as opposed to sending a crew out for 2 hours, which is still better than a full workday.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding correctly, basically the idea is to if you get an input, right, how do you quickly analyze it, run some machine learning, and then respond within milliseconds?
Right, milliseconds or sub-seconds. Something that's faster than, hey, you've got a couple hours to get a crew dispatch as opposed to It'd be good to turn
More
off.
like edge computing.
Yeah, as opposed to turning off a fire hydrant that someone opened up and it's flooding a street.
Yeah. So we see this a lot in the industrial space because, as you know, when something happens in industrial, the response time is a lot less, and usually the compute, the decision making happens right at the edge, right? So yeah, I mean, it all depends on, again, we're providing the tools, right? The builders can build some sort of machine learning algorithm or some sort of engine, a rules engine that says when this trigger takes place, take these set of actions. And I think part of the speed is based on how quickly does that get computed. Part of the speed is I think where is that getting computed, right? If you're sending data, a decision all the way up to the cloud and come down, in some environments that works, in some environment it doesn't, like you said, right? On a factory floor, you probably want to decide right there, you don't want to wait till it goes to the cloud and comes back. So we have the capability of taking those same workloads, algorithms that you create in the cloud and push them down to the edge. So I think we were talking earlier, we have something called Greengrass, which is basically an edge compute runtime that you can run on an edge device closer to the sensor. And it'll still pull the same algorithm and everything from the cloud. So if a trigger takes place, automatically at the edge, I can execute on it and maybe sub-milliseconds, depending on the coding and stuff. But yeah, there's abilities of pushing some of that decision-making as close as we can to the sensor to reduce some of that just round trip possible. Again, it all comes down to the design, right? The capabilities are there. It's just how do we design it together? Yeah. Thank you. I'm making progress.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.